We have a marketing deck for the Clinic Immersives products as part of the product suite from Immersive Health Group. I'm just going to hit on a couple of these to start with as kind of a preview of a context for how Clinic Immersives is set up. So as you can see on this slide, Clinic Immersives has a number of award-winning titles. So several of the titles have been out to competition when we were in SiteVR and were award-winning. And the challenge is about the difficulties in skills training for clinicians and the inefficiencies of traditional skills training that's happening in the Sim Center. So our solution is that allowing the learner to prepare in VR with unlimited practice anytime, anywhere, allows them to develop self-efficacy and understanding and confidence of the task to be performed. And the entire purpose of these solutions is so that students, they still have to do the face-to-face clinical rotation, but when they get there, it is much more effective because the faculty aren't having to address the processes of the skills. The students know those cold, so then they can work on the finesse points of each skill, and the students get a lot more benefit from the time that they spend in the Sim Center rather than just trying to figure out what they're supposed to be working on for each procedure. In total, since our team was formed, we've served a little over 104,000 learners in more than 2,300 classes with more than 2.2 million sessions of immersive game-based learning or SIMS that are embedded in courses. And these are the products. So on the left are the three products that apply to graduate programs. So the Nurse Practitioners NP Skills Lab Enterprise, those are acute care skills for nurse practitioners, things that typically they don't do very often, and it gives them an opportunity to refresh their skill even after they're graduated and placed in the workplace. The Psych Mental Health is a suite of eight cases where the learner is going to be working through a prototypical case, whether it's suicide or transgender or pediatrics or whatever it might be. And what they have to do is they have to do an intake interview. So then they do an interview with the AI patient. Based upon that, then they have to decide the diagnosis. And once they confirm their diagnosis, then they have to do a treatment plan. Immersive standardized patient experiences are 24 more cases that are for prototypical NP cases that they would see where they have to go through a health assessment, very similar to psych mental health, only it's general medicine. So the nurses are going to do take a history with the AI patient, then they have to examine the body. Based on that, they can order tests, and then once they have done all of that, then they form a differential diagnosis, and then do a final diagnosis, and then come up with a treatment plan. On the right-hand side are the undergraduate tools. So Pre-Licensure Clinical Skills Enterprise is for the entire bachelor's degree program in nursing and has 53 clinical skills and 8 case scenarios. The Public Health Nursing Immersion is for the RN to BSN program, and then the Medical Assisting is for paraprofessional training for medical assistants, the 33 clinical skills that are typical, and also prepare for the exam. These are delivered on Meta, on Quest. They're also delivered on PC and Mac, and can be delivered on the Neo 3. So as a quick introduction for one of these titles, NP Skills Lab, then NP Skills Lab is the first product that was in the classroom at Purdue over 3.5 years ago. Now it's being used by, in addition to Purdue Global, also UCF, UTA, and some other schools, also piloted by Yale and Harvard. And the 6 skills are difficult skills that are difficult for nurses, even experienced nurses, when they're encountering these, and this was especially highlighted during COVID. So then the reason that these 6 skills exist is because of the need that was developed and identified for us by our SME at Purdue Global University, and they helped us with the underlying theoretical design of these. The learning design of these skills is why do immersive learning, and it's all about self-efficacy and embodied cognition and the ability for unlimited practice and having a guided and an expert mode. It incorporates the pulse physiology engine from Kitware, so that allows us to replicate actual feedback data as they would see on a monitor if they were working with the patient in real life. They're fully ADA compliant, so there is an alternative version for students that are unable to do VR. There was a research pilot by Purdue Global, and here's the results of that from the period of October 2020 to January 2023. There were 16 classes, 261 students, 6,245 skill sessions. The positive response rate of 78.2% is feedback from learners that they both would prefer to work in VR, and they felt more confident having done these skills in VR than compared to other things that they've done in their program to prepare in a traditional form. Now I'm going to jump to a demonstration tutorial video that we have. We have tutorial videos for every skill in simulation in the entire suite, and it shows how to do the skill in the guided mode. So this is endotracheal intubation in NP skills. I'll pause this for just a moment. One of the features is you can see the pulse engine kitware feedback panel on the right, and also an objectives panel that the student is following along to keep reinforcing what the steps are in each procedure. That video was one of the videos on the support page system. So we have a support site for all of the titles in Clinic Immersives, and you can visit this site and you can drill down on any one of these titles, and you can look through all the tutorial videos that are available, and there's one for each of the skills. And then these are presented, these are hosted on our YouTube channel, and we do that on purpose because it also helps with our public-facing marketing SEO, because we have like more than 180,000 views of just these titles that are on our YouTube channel. All of the titles are cloud served, so when their students are working in the headset or working on their PC or Mac, they're actually communicating with the backend with their dashboard, which they can see their own progress in their account on the dashboard. And we're looking right now at an example of an NP skills class from a previous session, and this is the instructor view. So the instructor can set the start and end date. They can see all of the students in their class and what their progress was. They can drill down and look at any individual student if they want to, and see exactly what's happening with that student and what they did for each attempt, as well as they're in charge of what labs are they making available to the student, and is there anybody that's getting accommodation so that they can use the alternative version. And lastly, they can see the survey results that each student is going to be replying back after they have had a chance to work through the session and give feedback at the end. Now in this example that I'm showing on the screen, this is a tutorial video from our PMHNP title. And in this particular tutorial, I'm explaining to the student how it is that you work through the case. So how you use the microphone, how you're going to speak with the patient, how you'll be able to see what the patient has said if you want to review while you're going through the interview, and then what are the tools that you have to be able to investigate the electronic health record for the student, as well as a suggested best practice interview guide. And you can see that the in this example, I'm speaking with the patient and the patient is responding to me, and we have a UI in the background that shows exactly what's taking place. So all of this is happening with our Google Dialogflow AI patient system. And what I'm going to do now is show you what that looks like in the back end. So now I'm looking at an example of a faculty's class roster from a 661 class, which is the introductory class using the two most basic patients. And in this case, I'm going to take a look at, I'm just going to pick one at random here, start with the first one maybe. What happens when the student and the faculty are able to use the dashboard as a debrief tool? So I can look at Adriana, and I can see with the Carolyn Weber case, or I could look at Jeremy Strong, she only has one attempt. Here's her scoring, so she did not score very well. And the first thing that I can look at is what happened in the interview. So what we do is when we're having an interview with the patient, when that interview is completed, that's all stored in the server. So now that's a text string that we can put back into our back end and share that with both the learner and the faculty member, so that we can go through the interview and the faculty member can critique for the learner what it was that they said and why they got the answer that they got from the learner, from the patient, and what they should have been extracting from that, as well as what they didn't say. And then down below, what was their diagnosis, if this was correct or not, which it wasn't. What were the problems that were determined in their diagnosis? Some are missing, some are extra. The physical symptoms is not correct. And then the treatment plan isn't correct. So I can just look at this at a glance and I can see that, for instance, Zoloft would not be the intervention in terms of pharmacological. So then this is a tool that the faculty member and the student can debrief, and then the student can keep repeating over and over and over and over until they really get a much better feel for how each of these cases should be going. Now let's take a quick look at how the accommodation works. So in this case, this is for a student that can't tolerate VR for whatever reason. So I'm going to just take a look at how the accommodation would work if I wasn't going to be doing this in VR. So I can go to accommodation. I can take a look at this particular patient, tell it next. So how this works for the learner is, instead of being with the patient doing the interview, they're doing the interview here in the chat dialog. So then I can speak to or type and get a response from the patient just as I would as I was speaking to them. And then instead of grading what happens in the interview, then what we're doing is we have questions that the learner has to answer that are extracting the same information that they would have had to answer by way of the interview. So these are the highlights of all the information that they should be extracting from that particular interview. They have the clinical notes that would have been in their electronic health record in the tablet. And then they also have, so this gives me all the information that I would have had at intake. Then they also have the interview guide that they can use, which is the same interview guide that they would have had in the tablet when they were in VR. So they work through the interview that way. And then they'll see the results the same way in their dashboard, so they can review that with their faculty member. So then I have to go through the same assessment. So what are the problems that I can select from? And what's the physical symptoms that I can select from? And I am able to diagnose this both from having read the electronic health record as well as speaking with the patient. Then I make a DSM-5 diagnosis in terms of what is the problem, and then a treatment plan. And then when I submit this, then I get an instantaneous feedback on my mastery, which is 0 out of 40, not very good. And then I can continue on and repeat this as often as I need to, just as I would if I was working the case in VR. By the way, before I move on, as a matter of comparison, there are a number of other products in the market that are similar, but there are no other products that have a fully ADA compliant alternative version, not just for PMHMP, but for all of our products. So for all of the clinic immersive products that are being used in the classroom one of the great value adds is the enterprise system that's supporting the learners, the faculty, and the administration. So here's a graphic that depicts our ILX core, which is our enterprise system. So it allows us to provide these features as part of the license so that admin can manage licenses, faculty, and accommodation, because that has to be um, allowed by the administration. Faculty can manage classes, learning progress, and debrief and analytics. And then the learner is in charge of everything that they can see in terms of their progress in the class and their ability to diagnose what their skills gaps are, and then request debrief with the faculty member. Then we have analytics that are available for both the faculty and the administration. And then we have a robust help desk system. The learners send an email, which is populated against our Zoho desk and immediately generates a ticket and informs us, and we work through that by email and provide direct support to the learners as a condition of the use of the product in the classroom for enrollment. So there's a quick overview of the 6 products and the supporting enterprise features in the Clinic Immersive system.